is the Fade 5 Podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bets, you jackals. Brad the Big Noise Evans with you. The good son, Nathaniel Lundy, as well. It is indeed the Fade 5 Podcast, and download it wherever you get your podcast. Would you kindly subscribe to us, drop us a rating and a review? It helps the sustainability of this program, unlike my wagers, who, if you faded me yesterday on the show, you made a profit because it was a mixed bag affair on Thursday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football lived down to its reputation in the first quarter and a half, at least 2.5 quarters, really, if you were a Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Ravens backer. But that's long in the past, Lundy. We forge ahead on this Friday edition of the pod, and we're going to go the junior circuit as we always do on Fridays with our college football pick to click loaded slate here on Saturday. What do you have on your card this weekend, my friend?
Oh, what do you say we go ahead and head down under, Brad? Throw some shrimp on the Barbie and love the under, because there's one team, Brad. There's one team in college football that we just play the under, and we play the under, and we play the under. So let's talk about Northwestern and Iowa. Let's take the under on the 37.5 once again. Northwestern's lost 6 in a row. Like, Wildcats are done. Like, just move on. Go back to Chi-Town and stay right there. Don't worry about your football season. Iowa continues to be able to hit the unders over and over again. So every time I see a 37.5, if it's in the upper 30s, right now, Iowa, you could put it at 34 and they're going to hit the under. Hell, you could put it at 25 and half the time they're going to hit the under anyway. So when you look at Iowa and you look at a team that's only managed to go over this total twice all season, yes, they are favored by 11.5. The over-under sits at 37.5. Give me the under on Iowa in the Big Ten battle tomorrow.
You said Iowa, and immediately the automatic thought was under some more, because they have been flourishing in that category this season. Doesn't matter who's going to be quarterbacking this weekend. If they turn to Padilla instead of Petrus, it's irregardless. There are a strong under wager. And another under wager that I like this weekend is the under in my Fighting Illini's road trip to Lincoln against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The line is at 50.5. And I think it's way too high given the stellar execution of the Fighting Illini defense. Number one in college football and points per game allowed, giving up just 8.9, and also the fewest total yards per game allowed at 221.1 on the season. There are probably 5 future NFL players on this defense, 3 of them in the secondary. They really get after it. I know Nebraska has a plus offense, and they've really struggled mightily in defense. And bonus time, I will lay the chalk on my Illini, which is 7.5 in this game. And double bonus time. I actually like them too on the over team total, 29.5 points. And you might say, well, that contradicts your underplay in this game. But I think Illinois is going to score 30. I think Nebraska may score 14 at most. And again, it's 50.5 here. And I think it's way too high, again, given how stiff and stout that Illini D has been. So, Lundy, are you with me on the ILL?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wasn't thinking so much about the total. I've already got them set in tomorrow, in tomorrow's You Bet College Football program that will air here in the fine state of Colorado and around the Rocky Mountain region. I've actually already got the Illini at minus 7.5. In their last 8 home games, Brad, Nebraska's only managed to cover 2. That's
wow.
it. And that's at home. That's at Memorial. Nebraska can't even cover the spread. So I'm going to say that Illinois takes care of business, and you talked about it. There's some great defensive talent on this Illini team, and I think that they hold Nebraska down. Yes, I know that the Huskers managed to kind of bounce back after the coaching change, get themselves to 500, but then look at last week. They reverted back to what they were before they fired Scott Frost. I think that's exactly what they're going to be tomorrow against Illinois.
Yeah, and they're giving up 190.4 rush yards per game. Hello, future maybe Heisman Trophy finalist Chase Brown. He could run for 500 yards in this game, and I'm in Detroit, so I actually get to wager on my Illini right here in a brick and mortar, so I'm extra excited as a result. Yes, I will have at least 3 tickets open on that game. Speaking of additional tickets, let's get after the NFL. It's week numero ocho with another edition of the Fade 5.
Number 5.
All right, let's pack a brown bag lunch here and feast on it because A.J. Brown is going to do some tasty playing, I believe, this weekend as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles against the very fruitful matchup that he has on paper, the Battle of the Quaker State against Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the over here on 66.5 receiving yards. I pulled this from Caesars, where at tape time had the lightest juice at a minus 115. You look at Brown, what he has done this season. He has been over this number in 5 of his 6 matchups. And you look under the hood, and the underlying numbers are outstanding. 8.8 targets per game, number 9 in yards after the catch, number 4 in yards per route run. Pittsburgh, due to the injury hasn't really been as effective defensively, especially against the pass, as years past. But the Steelers giving up 7.51 pass yards per attempt, and 11 wideouts have hit the over on this number. Now, his primary adversary is expected to be Pierre in coverage, who's played on 74 snaps and only given up a 64.3 passer rating. But A.J. Brown is just a freak and a guy that's going to be off the leash for sure in this game. So I love the over on 66.5 receiving yards, minus 115 at Caesars. Lundy, Vader follow.
Sign me up. I'm in on this one. Love this sort of resurgence that we're seeing out of A.J. Brown, a guy that was kind of, if you're a fantasy player, was kind of riding that, well, maybe I don't really want him on my roster anymore type of things. And I think he's landed in the perfect situation. So you put all of that together, 66.5, too low for me in the Battle of the Quaker State.
Oh, Brown bag it, and you may make some dollars in the end.
Number 4.
Mandatory Montgomery, you jack wagons. Yes, Dave Montgomery. And I'm not going to focus on rushing yards. I know Khalil Herbert is all the buzz, all the talk in Chicago and really in fantasy football circles as well. But I think mandatory gets the over on receiving yards. The line down to a very achievable 7.5. That is it. And it's a lighter, juicier minus 110 at DraftKings. Look at Montgomery. Yeah, he's only run 7 routes per game, but he is wide-ass open. I swear to God, at least 5 times in a given contest. When he runs a route, Fields typically goes the opposite direction on the rollout and misses him completely, but he's available, and all I need is just one catch. That is all I need from mandatory, and if I get that one snag, I think he's going to hit the over on this. Yeah, he only played on 55% of the snaps last week. Khalil Herbert looked like he had more juice in the legs, but Monty has been over this in 4 of 6 contests this season, and he does a lot of damage after the catch. One of the best of the business in yards at the contact per attempt at 3.25. Also forcing a missed tackle 28.5% of the time. So he's got the shimmy, the shake, the juke moves. You look at the Cowboys, 12 guys have gone over this number this season because it's so low. 3.9 receptions and 25.6 receiving yards per game. Specifically, they have allowed to the running back position. So, Lundy, does David Montgomery get one catch, one very achievable, measly catch, and catch the over on 7.5 receiving yards, minus 110 at DraftKings? Vader follow.
Well, you talk about how open he is on so many of these plays. Like if you watch the all 22, right, and he's just standing there by himself. Well, the advantage that he has, Brad, is that Russell Wilson is not his quarterback, and that Justin Fields is, because Wilson has the inability to see wide open wide receivers right now. But I highly recommend. Brad, did you fly to Detroit? Because if so, I'd like to see you doing the high knees up and down the aisle of your flight back to Chicago.
No, I drove and I got a speeding
Oh,
ticket on the way here, so I will
no
be not doing
way.
any high knees. Yes, swear
Whoa,
to
wait a
God.
minute.
10
Wait a minute.
minutes. 10 minutes outside of Detroit. I was so close to my destination. I was going 82 in a 70, and I got pegged. And the officer pulled me over, very nice police officer, and I said, what? How fast was I going? Like 81, 82? He goes, yeah, you're going 82. I'm like, what is it, 75? He goes, no, it's 70. I'm like, God damn, Michigan.
Michigan. You screwed him over. You brought him into your city. You lured him in with the blinking lights and all of your fun and then Brad's doing a television show like
Yeah.
shout out to Officer Barbrady who took care of me on my way into Detroit. Thanks everybody. Oh man, that sucks. Anyway, I digress. What you might want to do, Brad, pull over at a rest area. Try the high knees. See how it
Oh,
works for
okay.
you.
Yeah.
To see how many you get, like some weird, like some long haul truck drivers looking at you, like, what the bleep is that guy doing? Take the over on Monty. Give me the one catch, but Justin Fields, do not put on the blinders, my man. Look around the field. Look for Monty to be open for you.
Target the man, Justin Fields.
Number 3.
Oh, speaking of the man, that is Josh Jacobs right now for the Las Vegas Raiders. They didn't jackpot seemingly every single week. And as a result, this is the highest line in this category we've seen all year. And I still think he hits the over on 85.5 rush yards. It opened at 83.5, so it's starting to climb right now. I play this up to like maybe 99.5, honestly. It's minus 115 at DraftKings. He's gone for a buck 40 plus on the ground in 3 consecutive games. He's getting 20 attempts per contest, and that kind of workload feeds into this line, especially when you're facing the Saints, who are uncharacteristically soft up front, giving up 4.69 yards per carry and 101.3 rush yards per game to running backs. 4 RBs have gone over this number this season. And you look at the advanced analytics at Jacobs, he's just outstanding. Top 10 in yak per attempt at 3.98. And also total missed tackles forced with 36. Do you think he's a little bit ticked off, a little bit motivated that his 5th-year option was not exercised in the offseason? I think Jacobs will again exercise some demons this week on the road down there in Bourbon Street. So Lundy, you got to pound some Sazeracs with me and pound the over on Josh Jacobs. 85.5 rush yards, minus 115 at DraftKings. Fade or follow.
I'm not touching your damn Sazerac. Gross. No, I
They're
don't.
delicious.
No, I'm not. I'm maybe one. But then after that,
it's jet fuel. Hey, all you need is one, and you're trashed.
Oh, you're laying in a ditch covered in beads that don't even belong to you. You just like you're running up and down Bourbon stealing beads from other people.
Yeah.
He's got one of those shirts on that's got the boobs airbrushed on it.
Ooh.
Like that's exactly what you're doing. As long as he doesn't do that the night before the game, I'm with you on this. I think he crushes this number. I think they're just going to keep handing it off. Student body left, student body right. I like this. I like this prop a lot. It's one of my favorites on Sunday. There's a few running back props that I like on Sunday, but this is near the top of the list. But I'll tell you what, when you get, because I did actually bother to study prior to today's podcast. When you get to number 1, you've got a couple of guys that are definitely my favorite running back props this weekend.
Ooh, a little tasty sneak preview. Stay tuned.
Number 2.
All right, before we get to that OGP at number 1, I like Stefon Diggs here at numero dos. I'm going to take the over, and it's a high line at 78.5 receiving yards and minus 115 at Caesars, but I ain't scared at all because Diggs has already hit 100 yards in 4 games this season. You look at the Green Bay Packers, really the strength of this Green Bay defense is its secondary. They have been tattooed on the ground, giving up over 5 yards per carry, kind of like Devin Singletary as a result. Don't hate Josh Allen on the over 40.5 rush yards either, but I look at the Packers vertically, giving up 6.97 pass yards per attempt. Only 3 wideouts have achieved the over at 78.5 against him this season, but Diggs seeing 10.7 targets per game. He is number 2 in yards per route run at the wide receiver position and number 8 in total yak And he's going to get a lot of Eric Stokes in coverage, which is a very friendly matchup because Stokes has been targeted often this year, has given up an 87 flat percent catch rate and a 129.7 passer rating. So pull it all together. And I think Stefon, can you Diggs it? Yes, I indeed can. Could be another century mark effort for him. And that's why I'm on the over 78.5 receiving yards and throttle Aaron Rodgers. Make him even more depressed, please. Minus 115 at Caesars. Lundy, fade or follow.
All right, I'm going to be honest. In the last 90 seconds, you've talked me into this one because I actually didn't like this one when I sat down, just because of a game that I believe is going to be ridiculously lopsided. We've talked about how boring the primetime games have been. I really think this one's going to wind up having the same kind of feel because this Green Bay team sucks. Rodgers is at times he looks completely mentally checked out. Like they talked about on the broadcast last night, Al and Kirk were talking about just the body language of Tom Brady, right? About just how frustrated he is, that you can see it in his face. You can see the frustration that he's got. I think Aaron Rodgers is the same way. I just think he ghosts it a little bit better. I think he hides it a little bit more than Brady does. Brady's wearing it on his sleeve. Rodgers is just sort of, he just walks back to the sideline as though nothing happened. Like he's not throwing shit yet. He's not doing anything like that. So you talked me into this one because I actually thought this one's going to be so lopsided that we're not going to see Diggs, because if you get to that point where you have control of this game, sit his ass down. Because you right now are the odds-on favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. There is no reason for you to be putting these guys in harm's way if you're Buffalo.
Indeed. Bet on Stefon Diggs and suck it, Packers.
Number 1.
All right. Let me give you a little sneak preview.
Look at that
there
one.
it is.
That pretty SGP, baby.
It is gorgeous. Lundy's got to tail me on this one. It is a two-legger, and it is a plus money when I constructed it. It may not be when you try to do the same. That's why I got to get in early on some of these lines. But I put this together at DraftKings. Dameon Pierce, 55 plus rush yards, and you slap that together with the football Frankenstein, Derrick Henry, 80 plus rush yards. I know it's the Halloween season, but football Frankenstein, it will not put a fright into you, but the competition instead. And if you score the over on both of these, you're looking at a plus 115 at DraftKings. To dissect on Dameon Pierce, he has done this in all 5 games this season, or last 5 games, I should say, this year. He didn't do it in week 1. He was underutilized in that capacity, but no longer the case. He is number 7 in yak per attempt among all eligible running backs, and he has forced a missed tackle. And this is an absurd number, 35.8% of the time. Really having a special season with Breece Hall unfortunately done for the rest of the year for the Jets. Pierce could be your offensive rookie of the year in the NFL if he keeps this up. You look at Tennessee, giving up 4.56 yards per carry, and 4 running backs have registered at least 55 yards on the ground against him. Meanwhile, Derrick Henry, he has been over this in 5 of 6 games. Is averaging customary, 3.35 yards after contact per attempt. He's always one of the league leaders in that category. Only forced a missed tackle 17.7% of the time, but he just continues to drive and punish you on the ground. Probably going to get his usual 18 to 22 carries in this one because Houston giving up just 5.28 yards per carry and 135.5 rush yards per game to the running back position this season. 3 guys have reached 80 yards against him on the ground. Henry is going to go probably for 100 as a result. So Pierce 55 plus, Henry 80 plus rush yards. Lundy, I already know you're following at plus 115 at DraftKings. Explain why.
Just because, look, Derrick Henry to me last week was one of the most automatic player props that I've seen in a while. You just knew he was going to absolutely crush the number, and he did. And so right now, anything that I can do in either an SGP or I know some of the sites now are doing the crossover SGPs, right? So you pick 2 from one game, you can pick 2 from another. If you're looking to build some stuff for Sunday, folks, that has the chance to actually build your bankroll as well, do these alt lines on Derrick Henry, because Tennessee has gotten back into that mode of just give him the flipping ball and let him run dudes over. So you've got him at 80 plus. I think once again, he's going to be pushing the century mark. And Dameon Pierce has been, frankly, the only bright spot in Houston outside of Papacitos, where we can grab some margaritas and some good food. So outside of that, there's been nothing else that I think's really been worthwhile as you've been watching Houston. But Pierce has shown that he can be the back for them. So I really like this one. This SGP to me has got a lot of appeal. I like this. I like this one a lot. I like both of these running backs this weekend. You're looking for some DFS, throw them in your lineup. But this is a great same game parlay to be able to close out the Fade 5 on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Salt the rim with this SGP. And let's pack a little bit more buzz as well. Mas Tequila, it's bonus time. Lundy, college football, maybe hockey on a Friday night, NBA. I mean, we have the overlap of so many seasons going on right now. Lots to choose from. What else do you have on either this Friday or the rest of the weekend?
Well, I'm going to try to stick to just today, because otherwise it starts to make my head hurt because I start thinking a little bit too much. In college foosball tonight, shall we? Let's go deep. Louisiana Tech and Florida International. Give me FIU plus the 6.5. By the way, Louisiana Tech's managed to be pretty consistently over if you like the total at the 57, but FIU's coming off of a couple of big wins. They are now at home, and I do not believe that there's any reason on the road for Louisiana Tech to be a touchdown favorite in this one. So I'm going to take the points with FIU, but it would not surprise me at all if they actually pulled that one off purely on the money line as an upset. And by the way, on the money line right now, they're a plus 200. If you really wanted to have some fun, sprinkle a half unit on that one. Let's go to the Fall Classic, shall we? Let's talk some World Series. I got two bets for you that I like. First, I want to start off on the bump. Give me the over on 17.5 outs for Justin Verlander. This one is juiced up. I got it at minus 130 by the time I finally, shook the cobwebs, put the beer down, and made a bet. But I'm going to play the over in that. Remember, if it's over 17.5, those of you that don't bet on baseball a whole lot, maybe you're more of a football person, basically means, is he going to go 6 innings? Yes or no? That's what we're looking for, is for him to get 18 outs. I think he can do that, in part because in game one, I don't think either of these managers is going to want to go too much into their bullpen, because you're going to want those guys for down the stretch. If you go back and look over about the last 2.5 months for Verlander, there's really only one questionable, you could call it bad start that he had. And that was earlier here in the playoffs. And even then he went 5 innings, and that was against Seattle. So even right there with a not so great start, he still went 5 innings. So I think he can go 6 tonight against the Phillies. Then, Brad, how about a 2-leg SGP in the World Series? Nice and simple, that gets you into plus odds. Give me the Phillies plus 2.5, and give me the over on the total runs at 5.5. If I put together at DraftKings, Brad, that's a nice, tasty plus 120. That's a really nice pay for a simple 2-leg, because I do think the Phillies can keep this close, but I also believe they're going to get up over that run total, which has been slowly creeping up, by the way. The juice has been moving to the over. I've noticed that it's been sitting at 6.5 since it opened, but it's starting to get juiced on the over, so watch out for that. Give me, let's go to the NBA, shall we? Why not? Let's have some fun. Give me Charlotte and Orlando. These are 2 alt totals. Charlotte and Orlando over 212.5. Atlanta and Detroit over 219.5. Those 2 alt lines together are a plus 100. How about a same game parlay as we look at Boston and Cleveland? Give me the Celtics on the money line. Give me Al Horford to have at least 7 rebounds, and give me Donovan Mitchell to have just two 3-pointers. If we put that together, that's a plus 125 at DraftKings. And finally, I couldn't leave you for the weekend without having some fun with our goal in the first 10, but we're going to get a little creative here on this one. So we are going to say yes to a goal in the first 10 for Winnipeg and Arizona coming up later tonight. Winnipeg last night played basically a football game against the Kings. The final was 6-4, for crying out loud. So we're saying yes to Winnipeg and Arizona, but no to the New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. You put those two together, at DraftKings, it is a plus 230, and that is because we're taking the no on the Islanders. The reason why we're doing that, in 7 games, the Islanders have had a goal in the first 10 once. That's it. They have been clamped down from a goaltending standpoint, and even though Carolina's at home, I say that they do not score in the first 10 minutes. And one more, because it's a Friday for you. You know who sucks at keeping their opponent off the glass? The Lakers. Give me Rudy Gobert over 13.5 rebounds, juiced up minus 130 at DK.
Oh, I like that. And speaking of waxing the glass, I'm going to be at the Pistons game tonight, so I got to get some action in this game to keep me thoroughly entertained. I like Clint Capella on the over 9.5 rebounds at minus 110. Why? Detroit is not exactly boxed out of the competition. The 3rd worst rebounding team in the NBA in terms of opponent rebounds per game surrendered. I've been waiting on a Cade Cunningham rebounding prop. Not one posted yet. I'll probably take the over on that. And I am going to sprinkle a little bit of action on the money line with the Pistons because they got to win a damn game. It's plus 205, and they were within striking distance. Oddly played Atlanta at home just a couple of nights ago, so they could exact their revenge tonight. Speaking of the World Series, my prop that I like in this game is the over on Aaron Nola's strikeouts, sitting at 5.5. He has done this in every postseason game. He's gone 6, 6, and 6. Very devilish return there for Aaron Nola. He struck out 9, I believe. Houston Astros back in early October, his only regular season matchup against them in 6 2/3 innings pitch. So if he goes 6 tonight, which I feel he will, he's going to get that magic number 6 in the box score, and we're going to catch a ticket. Houston has struck out 23.9% of the time at the dish in this Major League Baseball postseason. Let's go back to the world of college football. One of my other favorite plays of the weekend is Western Kentucky, and I'm going to lay the chalk there at minus 10 against North Texas. The mean, green, not so mean. Defensively, 8th worst in college football, giving up 34.5 points per game and 471.9 yards per game. WKU on the arm of Austin Reed has been outstanding offensively, averaging almost 320 pass yards per game is Reed. So I think Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, will find the end zone early and often and score the cover again. They're 6-2 ATS this season. All right, back to the NFL. The other player props I'm really high on. Let's do another OGP or SGP. They're in the Motor City, and I believe the visiting Miami Dolphins wide receivers are going to rev the engine once again. Give me Tyreek Hill, 70-plus receiving yards, and Jalen Waddle, 50-plus receiving yards. That's plus 120 right now at BetMGM. You look at Tyreek, he's averaging 11.1 targets per game, number 2 in total air yards, number 4 in yak. He's done this in 5 of 7. He may have 100 in the end of this contest. And you look at Jalen Waddle, another guy getting extreme separation after the catch. Number 3 in total yak, number 5 in yards per route run. He has done this in 5 of 7 games, and we know how woeful the Lions have been defensively this season. And last and certainly not least, I'm going to take the over on Justin Fields' rush yards again. Going back to bear down, Chicago Bears. And he has been bearing down all the opposition with those legs. It's 47.5 as a line against the Dallas Cowboys. I'll take the over. The Bears' game plan against New England was genius. With the design runs, I think you're going to see more of that with Fields. And you might say, well, Dallas has got a rigid defense. Well, yes, and not so much. Because you look at the Cowboys, yeah, they're good vertically, but on the ground, they're giving up 4.34 yards per carry to running backs. That's essentially what Fields is going to be in this game. Remember, Daniel Jones scurried his way to 79 rush yards against them earlier this season, and Fields has been over this in 3 of his last 5, and the 2 that he fell short in, he went 47 yards and 47 yards. There could be a method to the odds maker madness here with the 47.5 line, but 26 attempts in his last 2 games combined. It's got to be 10 plus attempts yet again. And I think he gets 50 plus in the end. All right, we are out of time on this very loaded edition of the Fade 5 podcast. Drop us a rating and a review if you enjoy this podcast. Also, follow Lundy on the Twitter at Nate Lundy. All of his picks are there in his free spreadsheet. And I do the same as well. Free spreadsheet at Noisy Huevos. For Nate Lundy, I'm Brad Evans. As always, until next time, fade or follow. That is up to you.